Hello and welcome to the final whistle. I'm Steve Forbes and we're here to bring you post-match reaction to the game that's just finished up at Elland Road, where it ended at Leeds 3, Southampton 0. Now here to discuss it with me is Dean Hammond and Adam Leach. Let's get stuck straight into it then, chaps. Dean, what did you make of the game?
It's obviously a disappointing result. There's obviously some frustrations with how it ended. But if you dissect the game, Southampton's first half performance was excellent. It really was. The game plan of pressing Leeds with energy, with intent, really worked. Leeds made so many mistakes, couldn't get into their rhythm really. Vestergaard probably should have done better with his header early on, which changes the game. Southampton go ahead, it makes it a different game. So that's an opportunity not taken. Nathan Tella first half I thought was excellent. The penalty, which is a decision that's 50-50, I think can be given either way. The disallowed goal, again, 50-50 again. I think the referee's probably just about got it right, but again, a decision that's gone against the Southampton. And then the beginning of the second half, Southampton were on top. And then just from a moment of poor defending, I'd say, from poor positional play through the two centre-halves, Leeds get in on goal, Bamford finishes, and it just completely changes the game. Leeds then are in the ascendancy, their confidence grow, they're playing up front, they're committing bodies forward and score two more goals. So, yeah, disappointing result in the end, very frustrating after such again, a little bit like Wolves, a very impressive first half performance.
Yeah, Adam, as Dean said, a frustrating night where Southampton didn't necessarily play poorly. It just wasn't their night in the end.
I think it's the little things at the moment, Steve, that are making the difference for Southampton. And the little things are in fact really big things in terms of the way they end up affecting the results. I mean, they are making some poor errors defensively, and that is being punished time and time again. Every time they make an error, they seem to get punished. At the other end of the field, when the opposition defences are making errors, they're not capitalising. And that's really quite a turnaround from earlier in the season. And the first part of the season, we kind of felt the opposite was true of Saints. They were taking every single chance they got, and they were kind of riding their luck at times, and at times playing brilliantly. Now it just feels like everything's going against them in some way or another, whether it's of their own doing or it's not completely of their own doing. But it's a difficult time. It's a really hard time. I mean, that's one win in 13 Premier League games, 1 point out of the last 24. I mean, those are chastening statistics for any team. That's very poor. Yes, they have been unfortunate with injuries, and goodness me, they could do with not losing Oriol Romeu for any period of time. But yeah, the game today just kind of typified what Saints have been like recently. It's not all bad. There's some decent stuff in there, but just in those crucial moments at both ends, they're just lacking at the moment at both ends. The number of poor final balls today, when they got into position to create chances, a few poor errors that were capitalised on by Leeds defensively, and it's just costing them, and they're just hemorrhaging points that really they should be picking up, given when you look at the overall balance of the games and in terms of the raw stats that are being produced by them.
Yeah, sticking with you, Adam, and talking of crucial moments, just how crucial was that first goal for Leeds? It seems to be happening quite regular recently that Southampton are conceding goals at that time in matches.
Yeah, I mean, as Dean said quite correctly, the obviously Saints really should have had the lead. I mean, you can argue about the penalty, the free kick in the first half as much as you want, but Vestergaard, that's a golden opportunity. You've got to be scoring. At the very least, you've got to get that on target. Even the one where Tella did great to get through. I mean, that was really good play from Nathan Tella to get through. But if you're being honest, the finish has got to be better than that. You can't just dolly that up to the goalkeeper. You've got to put that in the back of the net. But Leeds, they didn't show that mercy when they got their chance. I mean, it was defensively, it wasn't great. And it was another one of those instances where, as good as Southampton are, competent as their players are, when you don't have a natural player in each position along that back four, you can get exposed. And I think that's what's happened there. Bednarek, he's doing a job, he's doing his best, to credit to him for that, but he's just not a right back. And it's at moments like that you notice those things really. And once Leeds had that, they had the bit between their teeth then, I think it was difficult for Saints. And I think we've talked about the moments in the last games where VAR's gone against them and maybe mentally they've struggled to get over it. I'm not sure it was exactly the same this time in terms of just being purely VAR, but once they went behind, it wasn't that they were poor, it wasn't that they didn't create anything at all, but you always felt like Leeds were going to win that game from that moment onwards. And unfortunately, that was the way it went.
Yeah, Dean, Adam highlighted a little earlier that it was Southampton missing their chances. We played okay today, but was it just the fact that Saints didn't take theirs? Oh, sorry, that Leeds took theirs.
No, I think you're right, Steve. I think Leeds obviously were more ruthless. They took their chances and they scored their goals. But Southampton, it all stemmed from probably, Vestergaard, like Adam, I agree. He's got to do better with the header, really, at such an early stage when Southampton were on top, especially as a away team. If he can score that and Southampton go 1-0 up, and the way they played first half by pressing Leeds, putting pressure on Leeds, making Leeds make mistakes, it's a completely different game. It really is. Leeds were ruthless. They could have had a few more. McCarthy's made a couple of excellent saves. He really has, which could have made the scoreline a lot higher. But yeah, I agree with Adam. I think the decisions that are going against Southampton today, I don't think they're really decisions that got against them, but the players seem to suffer against the disappointment. They almost go a little bit flat when they go to goal down. They're obviously trying their best. They're working really, really hard, and they're progressing through the pitch very, very well. But in both boxes, they seem a little bit soft at the moment, where they don't quite want to defend as much as they did earlier in the season, and they're not quite as ruthless. Danny came on today, didn't look quite as sharp. I think the pitch played a part in that. I think the pitch was very, very difficult, and that's where Oriol's injury came from, where he twisted his ankle. But Leeds were ruthless, and once they got a goal ahead as the home team with that intensity they played with, there was only going to be one winner. And I mentioned before the game that usually Leeds tire in the later stages, but I think it was the opposite today. I think they had more energy, and Southampton did tire towards the end. So frustrating even, but there is some good points from it. The first half, again, similar to Wolves, the performance was really, really good and perfect for the game plan against Leeds. Just couldn't quite get ahead.
Yeah, we talk about big decisions in games, Adam, and there was another VAR check today for a penalty appeal on Nathan Tella, who also had a shot saved as well. How did you rate his performance today and really the performance of the forwards in general?
Yeah, I thought Nathan was lively enough. I think that he showed enough to suggest that he should be in and around the first team. So I think that was a real positive for him. There were a few really nice moments. The one that I highlighted earlier where he broke through. Yes, the finish should have been better, but actually it was a great moment for him. The penalty, not penalty. They've taken a long time, but I think ultimately they've come to the correct conclusion. And there were moments where in games where it's not a penalty, but it's also not a dive, and I think that was what that moment was. Maybe he was playing for it, but it was kind of, there was some contact there. It just wasn't really a penalty. But I thought he did okay in terms of the forward players in general. I think Saints missed Danny Ings today, even though, as Dean rightly said, I think it was harder for him given the pitch, which was obviously very hard for a sort of slick, fast passing game today. I think they did miss him. Just that focal point that he gives the team, that extra. Also, I think a little extra bit of belief. I mean, it sounds maybe a bit silly, but I think just having him there is a boost for Saints when they're out there. I think they feel like that if they get him a chance, he'll take it. Nathan Redmond, he plugged away, he tried hard, but it wasn't quite his day today either. So, yeah, I think it was one of those days where it just didn't go great. I mean, even when Minamino, for example, came on, you thought, oh, he's going to add a bit of thrust. But then, I mean, it was sort of typical of Saints in the final third in the second half. I mean, that cross that he put in, Leeds obviously picked up the ball, went up the other end and scored. I mean, it was dreadful. It was an absolutely dreadful ball. And you know, that wasn't the moment that Saints conceded that goal, but it kind of led to it. And that sort of just typified, they just weren't quite sharp enough. And I think that's overall the big question that we're kind of reflecting on now. When Dean rightly said that Saints tired again, and that's been a regular theme in recent games, that they have tired. Yes, the squad has been stretched, but I guess the question we're asking ourselves is the reason Saints were so good early in the season that they played a brand and a tempo of football that they just couldn't keep up for the rest of the season? I don't know that that's definitely the answer, but when you look at the results, that's one thing you've got to question, really, because again, they did tire badly in that game.
Well, Saints did have the ball in the back of the Leeds net before half-time, but it was disallowed after a quickly taken free kick. The referee saying that he didn't blow his whistle before it was taken. Dean, what did you make of that incident?
It's an interesting one, because I think at the end, I think it's probably the right decision. Whether the referee is hesitant, he's not quite blown his whistle as James has passed the ball through to Shea. But I've got to say, the referee is about to blow his whistle as James Ward-Prowse passes the ball. So if you're about to make a decision or about to take an action or do something, that means you're mentally prepared. That means you're ready because you're about to do it. Yes, James passes the ball just before he blows his whistle. Shea makes a great run. It's a really, really good finish and really well worked, to be honest. But I think it's a difficult one, and I think the referee has panicked a little bit and think, oh, I can't really give that. And his approach after coming away from the ball, going towards the Leeds defence, getting himself in a position was a bit lacklustre, you know, kind of head down, looking around, wasn't looking at the ball. Usually when you're on the pitch and you're taking a free kick as a player, you can get eye contact with the referee to almost say, look, can I take it? Look, there's an option here, can I take it? And the ref will just look at you and nod. I've never had to, I know they always say play to the whistle. You don't always have to play to the whistle. The ref can direct you and indicate that it's okay to take it. Now, the referee was looking away from the ball, which is not normal, to be honest. So it's almost like he was distracted and wasn't concentrating in the moment. But as he went to take or blow the whistle first time, there was two whistles, James plays it. So I think he had to make that decision where he disallowed it. Otherwise, it would have been uproar. But I think there could be some debate about it, to be honest. I think he's made a mistake there, and he's just made up for his mistake.
Yeah, another key point in the first half was Oriol Romeu's potentially goal-saving tackle. Adam, what a challenge, but I don't know how we really ended up in that position to begin with.
No, no, definitely not. And I think you know, if you're being brutal, I think Rafinha will look back at that and think, there's no way in the world I should have let him get back for that challenge. It wasn't exactly the greatest forward play in the world either, but just take your hat off for a minute. I mean, from the Saints' point of view, a moment to cherish, not just, I think, for this game, which is probably the highlight from the Saints' point of view, but also one of the moments of the season. I mean, we talk about a great save, we talk about a fantastic finish or a great through ball for a goal, but I mean, tackling is one of the art forms of the game, in my opinion, and that is as perfect a tackle as you will get. Not only is he absolutely busted his lungs to make it back, goodness knows how he's caught him, really, but the timing is just perfect. I mean, he has a split second to make that call mentally, to jump in and take that challenge on, and then to get it right, because you know, half a second either way, and yeah, it's disaster, basically. It was an incredible, incredible piece of play. And even though it's not a goal, even though it's not a save, for my money, it's one of the absolute top 10 highlights of the season so far in the Premier League for Saints, because it was just astonishing. It was so, so good. And yeah, I think from my point of view, that is the one real positive and sort of highlight that I'll take from this game, because I just was almost on my feet applauding. I just thought it was such a great piece of play from Oriol. And as I said before, really, obviously very worrying to see him limping off injured. He's been brilliant for Saints this season again, absolutely superb. So we just have to hope beyond hope that it's nothing serious for him and he's back out on the pitch to face Everton.
Yeah, definitely. We wish him a speedy recovery. Dean, we said in the pre-match show that a win today would have put us within a point of 10th. It wasn't to be. So where does tonight leave Southampton in the season with 13 games to go?
Well, they're in a difficult period, to be honest, Steve. Losing games is never easy. Losing games consistently is obviously harder. But I think it's maybe we've all been a little bit guilty of this, maybe looking too far ahead, predicting where Southampton are going to finish. I think that the manager and the players will just be looking, we need to find a way of winning a game again. Let's find a way of getting 3 points, of winning a game, and then maybe looking a little bit further ahead. I think March is really important. I know we've got Everton next, but I think March is a huge month for the club. They're playing teams like Sheffield United, Brighton. There's the FA Cup quarter-final, Burnley. There's some really important games coming up with teams that are now around Southampton at the lower end of the table. So, Southampton have proven they can put a good run of results together. They really can. They're an excellent team. They're going through a difficult period, and they just need to kind of find their mojo a little bit now again and find a result. And when you get 3 points and you can win a game, it does change everything. It really does. It changes the atmosphere within the group. It changes the atmosphere at the training ground. You look forward to games more. So I think, winning a game is the next priority, not thinking too far ahead, thinking, can we get in the top 10? Can we win the FA Cup? Find a way of winning your next game. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, definitely. Adam, as Dean said, it is Everton next. They've just beaten the current champions. It's going to be a tough one, that.
It's a really difficult game. It's not the game that you really ideally want now, I don't think. And 3 away games in a row coming up is also not ideal, even though perhaps away advantage and home advantage isn't quite as key in this period without fans, but it's still not really what you ideally want. It's going to be a tough game. I mean, Everton are a good side. They're also shown that they can pick up wins without key players in the team as well, which has been a real positive for them. And they've got a lot to play for still in the Premier League this year. They're looking upwards at where they can get to at the moment, as far as I think Saints are struggling more to look forward with positivity in that respect. But as Dean said, they've just got to find a way to get a result. I mean, they can't. We will talk about the runs inevitably. The media will talk about the runs that Saints are on as well. But Saints can't get bogged down in that. They've just got to try and find a way out of this. They're in a difficult position. But I think that the point is, from Saints' perspective, are they going to break the top 10? That's really stretching now. I think after tonight, it's going to be very, very difficult. Yes, there's some people who are getting nervy, and the job is not done yet in terms of staying in the Premier League. So of course they need to make sure of that. But as much as anything, if we are saying to ourselves, a lot of the rest of this season rests on the FA Cup and that game against Bournemouth and really keeping the season alive, you need to try and go into that with some positivity and some momentum. Bournemouth might be a lower league side now, but they are going to be bang up for it, and they will be sniffing any chance to take advantage of any weakness in Saints as well. So Saints have got to make sure that they go into that in a positive mindset. And if that's the motivation to get the league going again, then perfect. That maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to concentrate on something like that, because they really need a pick-me-up right now.
Yeah, well, Everton aren't really the most consistent of teams at the moment, Dean. What are your early thoughts again on that one? Is it just a case of having a positive mindset going into it?
Yeah, it's isolating the game. It's separating the game from your current form, from Southampton's position and Everton's position, and just trying to put a game plan together to try and win the game. We know what Ralph and how he approaches the game and how he sets the team up. They will try and win the game, which is a positive. And Everton, they're having a decent season. They're an improving team. They're progressing through the league. They've got an excellent manager. They've got a really good squad. And they've had some really good results this season, especially the last one against Liverpool, where they were excellent. But, You got to remember last week, the week before, they lost to Fulham at home. So they can be got at, they can be beaten. And Southampton have got to hold on to that. So again, unfortunately in football, it's dusting yourself down. You always get a chance to respond. You always get a chance to play the next game, and it's approaching that game in the right manner, which the players always do. You can never fault the players' work ethic. You can never fault the players' commitment. They're trying the best they can. There's been injuries, there's been disruptions, there's been suspensions. It's been difficult this period, but a couple of wins changes everything. So going to Everton and winning can reignite the season. But like I said a minute ago, let's not get too carried away now. It's trying to find a performance and a result to win a game. And I think that's the main focus at the moment. And Everton can be beaten.
Definitely. Good. Well, great sentiment to end on. They can be beaten. Dean, Adam, thank you very much for joining me on the final whistle this evening. A disappointing night, but we do march on to Everton next. That's on Monday, the 1st of March at 8 p.m. So we'll be with you on Saints Live from 6:45. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you then.